All right. So now we know how to do Roman numerals, we know figured bass notation, and then they throw macro analysis at us. And macro analysis is a different way of looking at the music. We don't look at whether things are one chord or a five chord. We don't look at it whether it's a first inversion or second inversion. We take the letter names and then we look for the relationship between the roots of the chords. And we're really looking for a chord that you either go up a fourth or down a fifth. Remember, up a fourth, down a fifth is the same thing. They go to the same notes. So if a C goes up a fourth, it's C, D, E, F. It goes down a fifth, it goes C, B, A, G, F. It goes down a fifth, same note, F, because remember you invert an interval, they add up to 9. So 4 plus 5 equals 9. So when a bass does that, we call that a circle progression. And it's a very powerful progression. I think our book makes more of it than we really should, but it is a powerful progression. We like to note this when we're using this circle progression. The bass goes up a fourth or down a fifth. So we start looking at chords. We don't care how many times the chord is played in the same time, as long as it's the same chord. We don't care if it changes inversions. We just give it a name. And all we're going to do is we're going to give it a letter name. We are going to use a small letter for minor, capital letter for major. We're still going to have the little circle for diminished, although some books write DIM. The little plus for augmented, although some books use AUG. There's lots of variation, but they mean the same thing. But let's just take a look at what it would look like. So these first two chords, you see that we could have said if this is a key of C, that it's a 1 chord, or the key of F, it's a 5 chord, but we don't care about that. All we know is that's a C chord. And it goes to an F chord, and that's up a fourth. So we put a little, a little like slur mark there to tell us, oh, it's a circle progression. Now, in the second one, it's the same thing. It's a C chord going to an F chord, but you notice the F chord is in first inversion here. The F is not in the bass, the A is in the bass, but we don't care. We're only talking about what the roots of the chord is. That's an F chord. If we put it in root position, it would be FAC. That's a C chord. It's in root position, CEG. The bass, the roots still move in a circle progression. So all we're looking for is as if everything's in root position, macro analysis. Now, when we start talking about 7 chords and half-step motion, they'll use dotted lines for that. And we'll spend more time on that later. But just get familiar with this. Now, this notation is very useful when we're just trying to see basic relationships between chords, particularly if we can't tell what key we're in, we're changing keys or something strange is happening. It's very useful. Also, jazz does an awful lot of progressions that are based on these circle progressions that really aren't easy to analyze any other way. So it's really, really useful. It also turns out that this is very close to most pop notation. In pop music, you don't write 1 chord, you write C chord. You don't write F chord, 4 chord or 1 chord, you write F chord. And it's the same thing. You have a capital for major, small for minor, and either the word diminished or a circle for diminished, and the word augmented or plus for augmented. The only thing that changes is in pop notation, we do notate the inversion because the bass line is so important. So this one, the final one would be F over A. We write the actual note of it, not the we don't hear about figured bass notation. So we just write that. Now, it's important to know this kind of notation too. If you play in a praise band, if you play in a rock band, if you play in a jazz band, your music's going to be notated this way. In fact, if you're playing in an orchestra and you're doing a pops concert, your music may be notated this way. So we need to know this notation too. So many ways to notate the same thing. But for the most part, we're still just talking about triads and inversions. Nothing complicated, just lots of languages to learn. All right. I'll see you later.